Hello everyone, back to the 11th Winter 2020-21 update part 1. So here we go again, it's time for another winter update, and we are now up to number 11 on winter updates. We've only got 13 penciled in before the winter forecast, so once this one's out of the way, just got another couple to do. Can you believe it? We really are now reaching the business end of winter updates, but we've still got this one and 2 more to go, so there's still plenty to show you. So sit back, relax and enjoy, and we'll talk you through part 1 of the 11th winter update very shortly. Part 2 of this winter update will be coming up tomorrow. I think that'll be around 6 o'clock tomorrow evening, and that's going to be focusing on the analogues, and I'll tell you what analogues we're going to be looking at the end of part 1 of the 11th winter update. Right, so going to be a busy day at GavsWeatherVids today. I've got a live stream coming up at 6 o'clock, so no doubt we'll be discussing this winter update part 1, and we'll show you some winter data with that. We're going to show you CFSB2 data, and also primarily though Beijing Climate Center winter 2020-21 data. I think it's going to be very interesting. You're going to see the latest forecast from Beijing Climate Center seasonal model for the winter of 2020-21. I think it's going to be really interesting. That's going to be from 6 o'clock this evening. So it'll run for an hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes. We'll look at shorter range as well, and we'll take questions, and we'll discuss this 11th winter update part 1 as well. That's from 6 o'clock. We're seeing straight after that, as soon as the live stream finishes, there'll be next Christmas update showing up. I think that's the 5th Christmas update. That will be released as soon as, like, virtually within a minute of the live stream ending. So the Christmas update will be released. So you just hang around the channel. Straight after the live stream, you'll be able to see the Christmas update. I think that's going to be an interesting watch for you as well. So that'll be coming up straight after the live stream, sometime after 7 o'clock, probably around 7:15, something like that. So it's an epic day at GavsWeatherVids today. If you're enjoying the videos and the content, then please smash the like button. Let us know in the comments what you're thinking, and make sure you sub to the channel, and you'll be able to see more winter updates and Christmas updates and all of that stuff if you do that. Click all notifications as well, and YouTube will let you know when we're releasing content. I'm going to say thank you so much to Richard Traut for the fabuloso winter updates gift. Thank you so much, Richard, for the amazing winter updates gift. Everybody loves the winter updates gift this year. So thank you so much to Richard Traut for the wonderful winter updates gift. Thanks very much to Shryan, to James, to Terry for all of their help on the winter update as well. So when we get to the sections where they've helped me, then of course, you know, we will I'll tell you where they have helped in the video. There'll be a written update that goes with this part 1 of the 11th winter update that I shall get done for you either tonight or tomorrow morning, just depending on how tired I am after the live show. I will have to get part 2 of this 11th winter update recorded as well this evening. So it just depends how tired I am, whether I can get the written update done today or whether it'll be tomorrow morning. But there will be a written update that goes with this video, and the video and the written update will be placed on winter updates page at GavsWeatherVids.com either tonight or tomorrow morning. You'll be able to have a read of that and also watch the video on demand. Right, I think that's pretty much everything I'm going to tell you. So sit back, relax and enjoy. Get yourself a cup of tea. Get yourself a cup of chair. There will be a couple of breaks in the video as well. So there'll be a couple of comfort breaks for anybody who wants to go up and stretch their legs. And yeah, so I'm going to get on with it right now. You get yourself some nibbles, and I shall start, shall I? Right, so the first thing you're going to look at, of course, as always, is the swingometer. So this is how the swingometer is looking as of the end of last week's 10th winter update. So the Swingometer is updated to the end of last week's 10th winter update. It does not take into account this 11th winter update. You'll see how this 11th winter updates part 1 and 2 affects the Swingometer at the beginning of next week's 12th winter update. So here is the Swingometer from King of Swing, Richard Traut. Richard has sent this through as King of Swing. It's sent this through, and the Swingometer looks like that. So as of the end of the 10th winter 2020 update, the Swingometer is virtually unchanged. We still are favouring a milder than average winter by 55% to 45%. So any changes within the margin of error, I think, and we basically say that the Swingometer is unchanged on where it was at the beginning of last week's 10th winter update. So we are, at the moment, the winter updates are favouring a milder than average winter by 55% to 45%. And we shall find out next week how this, or whether indeed it does, this 11th winter update in two parts, how that changes this Swingometer, if indeed it does move the Swingometer. Thank you so much to King of Swing, Richard Traut, for showing us the Swingometer again this week. Right, so let's move on then. I'm going to begin with a little bit of pattern matching just to settle us in. So we're going to look for pattern matches for October 2020's Northern Hemisphere 500 millibar height anomaly. This is how the 500 millibar height anomaly comes out for October 2020. So it did have an extensive northern blocking signal, actually, above average heights right over top of the pole. A ridge over across northern and eastern parts of Europe. That's a warm ridge that brings up warmth across Eastern Europe as well. Another ridge through the North Atlantic, and then two deep troughs, one going down from Canada into North America, and another one here right over UK and much of Western Europe as well. A rather bizarre sort of pattern for October 2020's 500 millibar height anomaly. And I tell you that I've gone back through the archives, I've gone all the way back to 1836 to try and find some matches, and I really have struggled, actually. Remember, these analogues do not actually form part of the winter forecast because it's subjective, you know, so I'm going back through the archives, I'm looking for the best matches that I can find. But it's just my opinion, you know, which is I think are the best matches. But it's not like a fact. So it's not, for example, like this is what the October centering temperature was, and so we can factually look at years that had the same centering temperature. You see what I mean? This is subjective, and one person might look at the couple of charts I've picked out and say yes, they're a reasonable match. Other people might think that no, they're not a particularly good match. So I could only find two. So the first match that I found that I thought looked kind of similar. You'll never get a like for like, of course. So we're just going to try and find the most similar, I think. So the first one was in October from a very long time ago, in 1907. This is how the 500 millibar height anomaly looks for October 1907. That is this year. This is 1907. So, I mean, it's got the ridge over across the eastern and northeastern side of Europe. It does extend into the Arctic to some degree. There is a trough across Western Europe. There is also a trough that's digging down into Northern America, albeit in a slightly different position. And it also has a ridge extending down into the North Atlantic as well. So, what do you think? Let me know in the comments, everyone. Can you see it like what I'm seeing there? That there is a similarity with October 1907 and October 2020. Albeit it's not a like for like, but I think there is a bit of a similarity with that one. And the other one I found was 1981, October 1981. This is possibly a rather better one, generally for Northern Europe anyway. So this is how October 2020 looks, of course. Again, reminder of that. This is how October 1981 looks. It's not a particularly good match for North America, though, but it does have a trough of low pressure across Western Europe. It's got a ridge across sort of Eastern Europe and into Russia. That ridge does extend back into the Arctic as well. There's higher pressure within the Arctic memory ridge extends from the Arctic down into the North Atlantic as well. So it does have a trough in Northern America. Again, it's in a different position to where it is this year. It's back further westwards. I mean, as I say, you'll never get a 100% like-for-like match, but I think there is a similarity with that one, certainly for like the Arctic and for the North Atlantic, and also for Northern Europe as well. Right, so let's see how those two winters are coming out then. So that's all I could find, by the way. So it's a very, very unusual pattern we've had again this October. So this is how the winter of 1908, 1907, 1908 looks. So it has an area of above average heights out to our west, and also an area of above average heights to the north, with below average heights to our east. I think this is generally a mild winter, although it does get cold in the spring. Spring of 1908 turns very, very cold. I think the winter of 1907, 1908 is generally quite a mildish sort of winter, really. And then the much more interesting winter, though, of course, is 1981, 1982. So this is how the winter of 1981, 1982 comes out. And of course, this is a very cold winter, especially the first half of it. It does have a strong northern blocking signal, has below average heights to our south, and it sends the jet stream southwards as well. And you can see that we will be bringing in easterly winds. So this is a bitterly cold December, of course, with loads and loads of snow in December 1981. Very cold, freezing cold, and very snowy into January of 1982 as well. Then, later in the winter, and this is the reason that the blocking isn't overly impressive, later in the winter, from like late January through February, it gets much, much milder. And February 1982 is actually a very mild a very mild February. So it's what we call a front-loaded winter, where the coldest weather is in the front part of winter. I mean, it gets much milder later on. I say that's all I could find, really, for those two, for the pattern matches. Just those two that I thought were kind of similar. There is another one that I'm going to show you in a moment, but I'm not sure. I haven't included it within these analogues because I'm not that pleased with it, but I will show you, and you let me know in the comments what you think. Right, so putting all the Decembers together, or both the Decembers, there's only two of them. This is how both Decembers combined are looking for our October pattern matches. Of course, below average heights across the west of Europe, a blocking signal, and quite a strong one, up to the north. Now, out of the two of these, 1981 and 1907, of course, December 1907 is much, much colder and much more extensive with the northern blocking signal. This is how all Januaries combined are looking. Again, you could envisage quite a coldish January here, with above average heights out to the west and the north, below average heights to the east and the northeast, and winds kind of coming in from a northerly direction for January 1982 and January 1908. Again, out of the two, I think January 1982 is by far the colder and snowier of the two. But interestingly, I think that is a slightly better match for the October pattern. October 1981, I think, is a slightly better match for the October pattern. And then you see for both Februaries combined, like obviously we're going much milder here. So the above average heights slip southwards, below average heights return into the Arctic. We lose a blocking signal, and we turn the wind into a westerly direction. So obviously favouring a rather mild end to the winter in February. And this is how the Marches are looking. So both Marches very unsettled, with low pressure in across the northwest of Europe. Probably quite mild, but also really quite wet favour for those Marches. And then both winters combined, so winter of 1981, 1982, then winter of 1907, 1908 looks like that. You can see there's a possibility of a cold winter with below average heights to the south and the east, and above average heights blocking up towards Greenland. But again, bear in mind, we've only got two, and out of the two, 81, 82 is by far the coldest and snowiest of those two winters. Now, as I say, there was one other year that I thought was quite interesting in terms of the October pattern. It is not a particularly good match, but it is this year just here. It's October 1878. Now, there are all sorts of problems with this, particularly in the Atlantic. So let's go back to October 2020 again, and you'll see that in all of this sort of area, we have quite a lot of high pressure through that sort of area. So there's quite a lot of high pressure, actually, in like the middle of the North Atlantic. Whereas in October 1878, actually this area is filled up by low pressure. However, it does have quite a big trough from Canada into Northern America. It does also have a ridge that's going up the eastern side of Europe, a mild ridge, going up the eastern side of Europe into the northwest of Russia and extending back into the Arctic and down towards Greenland and into the North Atlantic to some degree. And of course, it does have a trough of low pressure across the west of Europe, but it's more connected really out into the Atlantic. So I thought there were too many problems to include October 1878 in in the reanalysis that I just showed you. I thought this had too many problems, but I did want to note that I think, whoops, we don't want that. So I did want to note that I think there is like a similarity anyway, to some degree, particularly for like the Arctic, particularly for Eastern Europe, Northwestern Russia, and Western Europe as well. I think there's a similarity between October 2020 and October 1878, albeit it's not a perfect match, and it is actually quite imperfect, particularly in terms of what's going on in the North Atlantic. Please let me know in the comments what you think about these pattern matches. Please let me know, out of the three, which do you think is the best? I think October 1981 is the best of the three, but please let me know in the comments. Of course, the winter of 1878-1879 was severely cold, with deep low pressure across the northwest Europe and very extensive northern blocking as well within the north latitudes and sending the jet stream southwards, and it was a severely cold winter, and 1879 was a severely cold year as well, of course. But again, I think there are just too many problems really with the October 1878 pattern for it to be like considered as a pattern match. But there is a bit of a similarity, particularly for eastern parts of Europe with that mild ridge. Okay, right, so we're going to pause the video there. We talked for just over 15 minutes, so when we return, we're going to have more, and we're going to start off in the next section with solar activity. So we're going to be looking at how things are doing with the solar cycle. You go and get yourself a cup of tea and a couple of nibbles, and I'll see you back very, very soon. See you shortly. Okay, we're back. And we're ready to resume part 1 of the 11th Winter 2020 update. If you've enjoyed the video so far, then please give us a like. Let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure to sub to the channel. And we're going to carry on then with part 1 of the 11th Winter 2020-21 update. We're going to begin this section with solar activity. So this is how the solar disk is looking on our side of this today from solarham.net. We have got sunspot regions. We've got sunspot regions there and another cluster just here. Despite that, solar activity is at very low levels and is expected to remain at very low levels for the next 3 days. This is the GavsWeatherVids Solar Activity Tracker updated by good friend James Acriel up to today, the 15th of November. Solar activity is on the up, as we've been talking about in the winter updates over the past week or two. Yes, you can see from the orange line, which is depicting each individual day's worth of sunspot activity, that solar activity is indeed ticking upwards. And you can see that from our trend lines as well, which are the thick green and the thick red lines. They're moving upwards too. And so this tells us, and we also have a pink line up here, by the way, moving upwards, the purple line, I should say, which is the trend line for solar flux. So everything is lifting upwards. Solar activity is increasing at the moment. Of course, we are almost a year into solar cycle number 25, so we expect solar activity to be picking up. And that is very much what we see from our updated solar tracker. James has also sent another solar tracker through to us. This is the GavsWeatherVids extended solar tracker. Wow, thank you so much, James, for doing that. So this is showing solar activity all the way back to 2017, to April 2017. Look how big the solar activity was back in the spring of 2017 with those orange lines really lifting up. And, of course, the thick red line as well, which is the trend line, that also lifting up, and this black line as well. So you can see like the two solar minimum years, which were 2018 and particularly 2019. This period just here was the true solar minimum of solar cycle number 24. Late in or through the middle and latter stages of 2019 and into early 2020. And now we can see that yes, solar activity is picking up at the moment. Solar activity is probably back up to sort of levels we had in the early part of 2019, or possibly even back to the latter part of 2018. It's not yet back to 2017 levels, nowhere near. But I think solar activity is up now towards where it was in the early part of 2019, just before we descended into true solar minimum. Having said all that, this is still a very, very low level of solar activity. So even though it's ticking up, and we're back to the kind of levels we was at in the early part of 2019 or the latter part of 2018, nevertheless, these are still very, very low levels of solar activity. This has been set free by my good friend Richard Traut. So thank you, James, for sending those trackers through. It's been set free by my good friend Richard Traut. This is showing spotless days and the current spotless stretch. So for the current spotless stretch, it is 0 days, as again we have got sunspots today. For 2020 so far, we have had 204 days during this year. That is 65% of the year without sunspots. And of course, we see from 2019 that we had 281 days for the full year of 2019, which was 77% of the year without sunspots. So clearly, 2020 is a more active year for solar activity compared to our solar minimum year, as you would expect. But this is still a low level of solar activity. And actually, for a percentage, that's quite a high percentage still. 65% is pretty high for spotless days in the first year of the solar cycle. It's also been sent through by Richard Traut. So this is showing calendar years with the biggest, the biggest year in terms of spotlessness. So actually, the biggest year for spotlessness is 1913, just here. This big orange bar just here. Now this is 2019, just there. So this is last year when of course we was in deep solar minimum, and it was comparable with 2008 and 2009 as well. Now, this is 2020 just here. So, although, like, we are getting more sunspots now, the spotlessness is not as great as it was in 2019, nor 2008, 2009. Despite that, this is still up there. 2020 is still up there with, like, the weakest years for the solar cycle, really. So it is still right up there this year. And yeah, so I think you have to keep it in context. So although we are seeing a tick up in solar activity, although it is ticking up and it is increasing, we've got to put it in context that this is still a very, very low level of solar activity. Thank you so much to James and to Richard for sending through the data. Right, this is how the sea surface temperature anomalies were looking when we did last week's 10th winter update. Our 4 areas of interest got the ENSO region just here. We've got the Northern Pacific over here. We've got the Indian Ocean over there, and then we've got the North Atlantic Ocean over there. Now, this is how the sea surface temperatures, the oceans, were looking when we did last week's 10th winter 2021 update. This is the very latest, as of the 13th of November. Let's deal with the ENSO region first of all. So again, going back to last week, we've got these cold now, these sea surface temperature anomalies here. That's a signature of La Nina. We have got La Nina. We're going to have La Nina for this winter. The only question is where would it be positioned and how strong will it get. That's how it looked last week. This is how it looks this week. Now, it's quite interesting what's happened here in the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean is that actually the La Nina has backed off very slightly. Of course, it's still there. That is still La Nina in the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. But it has backed off a little bit over the past week. And the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean has actually gone a little bit colder. We wasn't expecting this. So we wasn't expecting the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean to go colder. But it looks like it has a little bit. What do you think about that? Let me know in the comments. Do you think that this, and we'll like you later, do you think that La Nina is starting to show signs of beginning to become a little bit more eastern based again? We looked at the reanalysis with this a couple of winter updates ago, and we know that eastern based La Ninas are much more prone to coincide with cold winters in the UK and in Northern Europe compared to central base La Nina. So if you want a cold winter, you want to see the La Nina easing from the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, becoming a little bit more eastern based. And that looks kind of like what's happened over the past week, perhaps. In the Indian Ocean, very little change there. Everything looking particularly stable, I think, in the Indian Ocean. In the Northern Pacific Ocean, again, it all looks rather stable. Things have turned a little bit colder off the east coast of Canada and America, but we still have this massive warmer than average sea surface temperature in the Northern and Northern Pacific Ocean. In the North Atlantic, again, that's how things looked last week. This is how things look this week. Very little change there. The tropics continue to look pretty warm, as does this eastern seaboard. It's cooler, like to the west of Ireland. This is the 7-day change in terms of sea surface temperatures. So you can see that in the Indian Ocean, let's deal with that first of all. Things have generally cooled down a little bit, I think, in the Indian Ocean. Things have generally cooled a little bit in the northern and northeastern Pacific Ocean as well, although bear in mind the anomalies are still significantly above average. But yes, it does look as though things have cooled a little bit in the northeastern Pacific, particularly off the east coast of America and Canada. The ENSO region is interesting. This central part of the ENSO region looks like it's warmed over the past week, whereas this eastern part of the ENSO region looks like it's cooled a little bit over the past week. That's quite interesting. The North Atlantic looks like it's just generally cooling through much of the North Atlantic, but the tropics look like they are still warming up, as does the Caribbean, as does the Gulf of Mexico as well. So this is showing day-by-day temperature anomalies in the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, going all the way, this is from TroubledTidbits.com, by the way, going all the way back to August. So, of course, if it's half a degree below average temperature, that's all important. That's the required threshold for La Nina. So each individual blue dot is 1 day's worth of sea surface temperature anomalies in region 3.4, the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. You can see it through August, September, and particularly through October. We see La Nina strengthening as the temperature anomaly goes from half a degree below average to 1.5 degrees below average at the beginning of November. But since, particularly in the last week, but really since the beginning of November, look what's happened. The blue dots are moving upwards. So has this La Nina peaked in the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean? Have we had an early peak for this La Nina? Did it peak here around sort of the end of October, beginning of November, at around 1.5 degrees below average? Could have done, because now we're back up to around 1 degree below. That's still a La Nina, don't get me wrong, that is still La Nina, but it does look as though that central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, a little bit unexpectedly, I think, might be starting to become a little bit less cold. And if that begins to push the coldest sea surface temperature anomalies back to the eastern part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean, then we may be in business for a colder winter. Have a look at the reanalysis that we showed you in part 2 of, I think, I can't remember, but it was either the last update or the one before that. It was the one before that, wasn't it? Because the last winter update we did October data. So yeah, it will be part 2 of the 9th winter update. Have a look at the data with that one. CFS V2 is also backing off its forecast for Super Nino. So again, we've got our temperature on the side, but dates are along the bottom. So here we go. And you'll remember last week, this black dash line, which is the ensemble mean, was being forecast to go down to around 2.5 degrees below average. Super Nino territory with this La Nina. It's backing off it though. The black dash line is now pulling up to 2 degrees below average, and it's still strong La Nina, but the blue lines just here, they are the more recent members of the CFS ensemble plume. They are pulling up further, and a lot of these blue lines are actually only sort of going down now to around 1.5 degrees below average, which is about where I was always expecting this La Nina to end up. So if that comes off, then it's a moderate La Nina, and yeah, so it does look like the CFS is backing off this idea of a Super Nino. Now the question is, will the CFS begin to shift its forecast for this winter? Will it start to go colder as it begins to lose the Super La Nina signal? That's something we'll have to keep an eye on over the next couple of weeks. But it definitely looks as though the CFS is backing off now this idea of a Super La Nina. So from an ENSO perspective, it is all beginning to get rather interesting, I have to say. Southern Oscillation Index is looking, and rather unexpectedly as well. I don't think many people are expecting this, but it does look as though, in terms of this La Nina, things are beginning to get more interesting. Right, Southern Oscillation Index next. This is an index that's measuring the atmospheric state in the Southern Ocean. When the SOI is in its positive phase, then the atmosphere is going to be reflective of La Nina. When the SOI is in its negative phase, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of El Nino. It's measuring air pressures between Tahiti and Darwin, and you can see the SOI return, daily return, just here. So positive at the moment with the SOI, as you expect with La Nina going on. So yeah, we've got a positive SOI. Southern Oscillation Index is positive. It is going to be a La Nina winter, definitely. The only question is how strong will the La Nina get. The SOI 30-day average is looking like this. That's the red line just here. And so that did dip a little bit through the early part of November. Now it's starting to tick up ever so slightly, perhaps. So yeah, La Nina is here, it's with us, but it's just a question of whether this La Nina is going to back off or not. Indian Ocean dipole data as well. And then we'll pause the video for this section. So just to give you some forecasts for the IOD. So the IOD, if you want to know about the IOD, you're going to have to check out the first winter update that we did way back at the beginning of September. How long ago was that? But I have not got time to explain it for this video. But just to say that for December, the Bureau of Meteorology and CANSIPS and ECMWF and Meteo France and NASA and UK Met are all forecasting the IOD to be neutral to negative, particularly so with NASA and also UK Met Office to some degree, but generally all of those models are neutral to negative with the IOD. In January they are also looking neutral to negative now as well, so there was an idea like a month or so back that the IOD might start to flip to positive through this winter, but it now looks as though the IOD is going to be neutral to weekly negative as we go through into winter. So actually that's November, isn't it? So sorry about that, everybody. This is November's IOD. So this is the IOD. Get ahead of myself. This is the IOD for November, neutral to negative in November. Although the box there is saying December, so that's a little bit confusing actually, isn't it? But anyway, we'll persevere. So that should be January, but it's showing December when we have a neutral to negative IOD as well. That's January, but it should be February, I think, when again we have a neutral IOD, maybe shifting a little bit more towards the positive end, and then that's March when it looks like the IOD, that's February I should say, but it should be March when the IOD is beginning to move more towards neutral to positive, I think. I don't know, but anyway, that didn't really work out, did it? That little part of this winter update. Never mind. Basically, it looks like the IOD is going to remain like neutral to like positive, neutral to negative through the early part of winter. It may shift towards positive later on, but I don't think the IOD should be particularly a particular concern for this winter, to be honest. Right, so I'm going to pause the video there, and when we come back, we're going to return and we're going to look at more data. So yes, we're going to have another little break. Go and stretch your legs, and I'll see you very, very shortly. Okay, we're back, and we're ready to resume part 1 of the 11th Winter 2020-21 update. If you enjoyed this video so far, then please give us a like, let us know in the comments what you think, make sure you sub to the channel. Right, so we're going to carry on. We're going to look at what's going on in terms of stratospheric temperatures over North Pole right now. So this is from the JMA. So this is looking at temperatures at 10 HPA, right at the top of the North Pole. The grey line is a trend line, the black line is this year's temperature so far for 2020-21. You can see that at the moment the temperature at 10 HPA is colder than average. If we go to 30 HPA, which is close to the troposphere, it's even colder. Temperature at 30 HPA is beginning to move close towards minus 80. It is a cooling time of the year, but those temperatures are colder than average at both 10 and 30 HPA, which you would expect to be associated with an increase in the stratospheric polar vortex. Let's see if there's any sign of warming of the stratosphere over North Pole over the next couple of weeks. So this is from the GFS. So of course these blue colours, that's where we've got these cold temperatures at 10 HPA in the stratosphere over North Pole. This is from meteoseal.fr, by the way. So yes, the GFS is forecasting that actually temperatures will stay cold at 10 HPA over next week. In fact, getting a little bit colder, going down to around minus 80 perhaps in around a week's time. And this goes on into the extended range with the GFS as well. So the temperatures are going to stay very, very cold in the stratosphere for the next week or two. Most definitely they will. Going down potentially by the end of November, going down to around minus 85, which would be a very, very cold temperature at 10 HPA indeed. So it does look as though from a temperature point of view in the stratosphere, we're going to be in for some very, very cold temperatures indeed over the next couple of weeks, which you would normally expect to be associated with the powering up of the polar vortex. This is from weatheriscool.com. This is depicting strength of zonal winds. So the black line is a trend line, so the zonal winds should be getting stronger at this time of the year as the temperature gets colder in the stratosphere over North Pole, so the zonal wind should get stronger. We can see that generally over past, certainly over past month. So our monthly periods just here. That's November there. That's October. That's December. That's January, and that's February. So you can see that it looks as though we're going to see the... so generally through November, the zonal wind has been stronger than average, although at the moment it is close to average. But the GFS, or it's going to become close to average in the next few days, but the GFS ensembles are really showing the zonal wind taking off. In fact, possibly reaching record-breaking strong levels with the zonal wind by the end of November. Those green lines are going up to a record-breaking level for the strength of the zonal wind by the end of November, and that's associated, of course, those very, very cold temperatures that we have at 10 HPA. So it looks as though the polar vortex is going to be powering up, at least in the stratosphere. I'll just put in the 7th V2 as well. So that's looking very strong with zonal winds right through into the middle of December, and then possibly showing a bit of a fall away later on into December and into January. That might be associated with a sudden stratospheric warming as it is like a reversal of zonal winds. However, the bias corrected looks like this. So yeah, I don't take too much notice of CFS and the bias corrected really on these charts. I think we're best to stick primarily to like what's going on right now, and also the GFS ensembles. Zonal winds powering up them. So this is the Arctic Oscillation observed and forecast chart. Now, if the polar vortex is going to power up, you expect the AO to be very positive and to get even more positive. So the black line shows where we've been with the Arctic Oscillation. Red lines at the end where GFS ensembles forecasting the AO to go. So at the moment, the Arctic Oscillation is very positive. GFS ensembles are actually forecasting into the second half of November that the AO will become a little bit negative for a while. while, only for a little while, and then it starts to pick back up to very positive territory again. So quite interesting. It looks as though, so that's looking at what's going on in the troposphere, of course, in terms of blocking. So it looks as though there's going to be a little bit of a discrepancy between the stratosphere, which is really powering things up in terms of the stratospheric polar vortex, and the troposphere, where it looks as though actually the polar vortex might be weakening a little bit, and we might get a little bit of blocking actually coming along later on in November. So that's all a little bit confusing. The NAO observed and forecast, again measuring air pressures this time in North Atlantic. So a black line shows where we've been with the NAO, red line and where the GFS ensembles forecast the NAO to go. So right now the NAO is also in a positive, very positive phase. GFS ensembles are forecasting a bit of a weakening of the NAO, but generally staying positive, really up to the end of November, but albeit a little bit weaker than what we have right now. QBO looks like this, quasi-biennial oscillation, again, continues to be very, very confusing. So the sandy coloured area just here is a westerly QBO. The blue-green coloured area is the easterly QBO. We should be in an easterly QBO. We should have seen the easterly QBO descending, but it did not. The westerly QBO just hung on. It just hung on and hung on and hung on. However, we have continued to have the easterly QBO lurking in the top of the atmosphere in the stratosphere. Remember, the QBO is just a way of indicating how strong the zone of westerlies are, really. So if we zoom in, we can see that actually a few days ago, the easterly QBO did strengthen and tried to push down a little bit towards the troposphere. The troposphere, of course, is around here somewhere. So we did see the easterly QBO trying to strengthen and push down from the stratosphere a couple of days ago, but right now actually it looks as though the westerly QBO is fending that off again. So it remains very, very confusing. We should be in an easterly QBO. We're actually in a pretty strong westerly QBO. We think this winter is likely to be a westerly QBO winter. But we may get a transition into the easterly QBO at some point through the winter. I think it's more likely after winter, but we might transition into the winter. Much more about this next week. We're going to do a QBO special next week, so you'll hear a lot more about the quasi-biennial oscillation and the possible impacts on winter in next week's 12th winter update. And then lastly, for this section, we're going to look at hurricane activity, and this will be the basis of our analogues tomorrow, by the way. So let's just deal with the scores on the door. So this is how the 2020 hurricane season is looking as of today, 14th of November. So, of course, these are our numbers. Huge season. What a huge season this is. For total depressions for this hurricane season, we've had 31. That is a record high tied with 2005. For total storms, we have had 30 total tropical storms. That is a record high, beaten the previous record. For total hurricanes, we have had 12. That's a very big number as well. And for major category 3 or above hurricanes, we've had 5. We may see that going up. Actually. In a day or so's time, because we might get another major hurricane coming in a few days' time. Absolutely enormous season, this. So, this is how ACE is looking. This has been updated by a good friend, Schreien Bruin has updated this for us. ACE is just a way of measuring how much energy these storms and whatnot are giving out. So we can go all that to 1851 with this. Let's go down through the decades and through through sections, through decades, and we come down to 2020. Here it is. So we can see that for 2020 so far, our ACE is standing at 164.40. That is after 30 tropical storms, 12 hurricanes, and 5 major hurricanes. And that gets us to hyperactive. The 2020 hurricane season has been hyperactive. I can tell you that now. And so tomorrow, in part 2 of this 11th winter update, we're going to be looking at winters following hyperactive hurricane seasons. Our last hyperactive hurricane season was 2017. Of course, that was followed by the beast from the east winter of 2017-18. So is there a connection between hyperactive hurricane seasons and cold winters, or colder winters? You'll find out tomorrow. What I would say, What I would say, though, is that sometimes below average hurricane seasons can deliver a cold winter. So, for example, we've got 1962 just here. The hurricane season from a daddy of cold winters, 62, 63. And that was a below average hurricane season, actually. So you know, you get cold winters after a below average hurricane season, but is there statistically a connection between hyperactive hurricane seasons and you know, the colder winters? We will explore the possibilities. We're going to explore the possibilities tomorrow in part 2 of this 12th winter update, but of this 11th winter update. But yeah, it definitely looks like this has been a hyperactive hurricane season. Quite incredible. Okay, we'll pause the video there one final time. When we return, we're going to go through Eurasian snow cover data. So I shall see you very, very soon. Okay, we're back for the final time on this 11th Winter 2020 update. I'm not going to talk about anything else. We're going to look at Eurasian snow cover data, and I want to get this in at 50 minutes if I can. So let's do this then. So this is how Eurasian and Scandinavian snow cover was looking when we did last week's 11th, when we did last week's 10th winter update. And so that's how it looks as of the 7th of November. Let's look at the latest then. So this is it as of Saturday the 14th of November. That's how we look. So we have had gains. We have had gains of snow cover across Russia. We have pushed the snow line a little bit further westwards across Russia and southwards too. However, things continue to look very, very poor for snow cover across Scandinavia. Again, that's last week, 7th of November. This is this week, 14th of November. Things continue to look very, very poor for snow cover as of the 14th of November for Scandinavian snow cover, but things have increased across Russia. Let's go back through the archives then. So this is how things looked at this time last year in 2019. So we are behind for Scandinavian and also for Russian snow cover as well. I'm going to run through these as quickly as I can. We're also behind 2018 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. We're behind 2017 for Russian and particularly Scandinavian snow cover. We are behind 2016 big time for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. We're behind 2015 for both Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. We are behind 2014 for Scandinavian snow cover and also Russian snow cover too. We are behind 2013 for Scandinavian snow cover and probably a little bit ahead for Russian snow cover. We're behind 2012 for both Scandinavian and Russian snow cover. We are behind, well behind, 2011 for Russian snow cover, probably a little bit behind for Scandinavian snow cover. We are behind 2010, clearly, for Scandinavian snow cover, probably a little bit ahead, though, for Russian snow cover. We're behind 2009 for both Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. We are ahead of 2008 for Russian snow cover, and behind, a little bit behind, for Scandinavian snow cover. We are well behind 2007 for both Russian and Scandinavian snow cover, and we're well behind 2006 too. We are ahead of 2005 for Russian and for Russian snow cover, and probably near matched for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2004, so we are ahead of 2004 for Russian snow cover, and a little bit behind for Scandinavian snow cover. That's 2003. We are behind 2003 for Russian snow cover and also for Scandinavian snow cover. We're well behind 2002, no comparison. We're well behind 2001 as well. We're well behind 2000 for Scandinavian snow cover, probably near match for Russian snow cover. We are well behind 1999 for Russian snow cover, and a little bit behind Scandinavian snow cover, and we're well behind 1998 as well. Let's go even further back and have a look back to 1967 from Rutger Snowlap. So this is going to be so actually no, I'm going to pause the video there. Sorry about that. Anyway, I'm going to pause the video there, and I shall get the charts in the correct order. Okay, just in the correct order, let's whiz through them. We're starting with 1997, and we're behind 1997 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. Obviously, where we've got this orange area, that's snow cover, and you have to sort of tilt your head or stand on your head to be able to see it the right way round. But yeah, we're behind 1997 for both Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. Let's move quickly. That's 1996. We're behind 1996 at this point of the year for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. We are well behind 1995. Look at that, all of Russia and Scandinavia and into Eastern Europe covered at this point in 1995. That's 1994. We're behind 1994 as well for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That is going to be 1993, which we are behind as well. That is 1992. We're behind 92. That's 1991. We're behind that year as well. That's 1990. So probably near match for Russian snow cover at this point in 1990, but a little bit behind for Scandinavian snow cover this year. That's 1989, which we are behind as well. That's 1998. We are now behind 1988 for both Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1987, when which we are behind for Russian snow cover, but Scandinavia was snow free. That's 1986, which we are behind for Scandinavian snow cover, perhaps near match for Russian snow cover. That is 1995, which we are behind for Russian Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1984. We are behind 1984 as well. That's 1983. We're behind that one too. We're behind 1982 and also 1981 for Russian and Scandinavian snow cover. We're behind 1980. That's 1979, which we are behind for Scandinavian snow cover. Could be near match for Russian snow cover. That's 1978, which we are behind for Scandinavian snow cover. Probably near match for Russian snow cover. That's 1977. We're behind that for both Scandinavian and Russian snow cover. That's 1976. We're behind that one too. That's 1975. Probably near match for Russian snow cover. A little bit behind for Scandinavian snow cover. That is 1974. Again, probably near match for Russian snow cover. Well behind Scandinavian snow cover. That's 1973. Behind both for Scandinavian and Russian snow cover. And 1972. We're behind this year, 72 as well. We're behind 1971 this year also. We're behind 1970 this year as well. We're behind 1969 this year, and we're behind 1968 as well. And finally, that's 1967, which you saw a moment ago, and we're behind 1967 for both Scandinavian and Russian snow cover as well. Thank you so much to Rutger Snow Labs for sending that through. And that is the end of the 11th Winter 2020 update part 1. If you have enjoyed this video, please can you click like, make sure you subscribe to GavsWeatherVids YouTube channel, and don't forget to tell your friends about GavsWeatherVids. Let us know what you think about all of the comments and talking points in the comments. Let us know what you think about this update in the comments, and that'd be absolutely fantastic if you can do that. 50 minutes. I did it. I brought that out at 50 minutes just about. Right, so that's it then. This video will be placed on the winter updates page. There'll be a written summary that goes with it as well. I shall get that up for you very shortly, either tonight or tomorrow morning. I'm trying to wrap the video up as quick as I can because it's gone a little bit too long. So part 2 of this update will be released tomorrow. We'll be looking at hyperactive hurricane seasons and winters that follow them. It's going to be fantastic. You'll be able to see that part 2 of the 11th winter update at 6 p.m. tomorrow. We're going to be live streaming from 6 o'clock. We'll be discussing this winter update. I'm quite sure we will. So that will be coming up tomorrow. No, it won't. That will be coming up from 6 o'clock tonight. And yeah, so I shall see you live at 6 after that. We'll have a Christmas update for the 11th Winter 2020 update part 1. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.